Give us your sense of how bad it really is, because as I look at it, we hear about it in the news, see it on the news every single night. A lot of people are concerned about it, talking about it. And yet, as I look at the statistics, it's not as bad as it has been as recently as the 90s.
Well, let's take a look at those statistics that you referenced. Gun violence. That certainly merits a lot of attention, but that's only one element of the violence and disorder that plaguing the city at the moment. Good news is that murders and shootings are down from last year, where they were very high, but they're still high compared to 2018, the safest year in the history of the city. But what is also fueling the fear, if you will, and the attention is other crime, the rapes, the robberies, the burglaries, the car thefts. Those are up 30, 40, 50, 60%. Subway crime is up, interestingly enough, although they only have 6 or 7 crimes a day with 3 million riders. It gets a lot of attention in our city. So the issue is, Dave, it's not just the gun violence, it's the overall level of violence and the disorder of the emotionally disturbed in the streets, the seeming lack of the police to get control over a lot of the things that make people feel unsafe, the prostitution, the open-air drug dealing, the disorderly behavior. So it's probably the worst time for the city since the early 1990s, and that's what's making the news.
So talk to us about how to approach that. You've had to do this, and you've done it successfully, I will say, in New York City. I mean, one of the issues we're seeing right now is perhaps increased patrols, increased arrests, summonses, citations for some of the smaller crimes. Is that a good way to get at some of the bigger crimes?
One of the reasons I've been supportive of Mayor Adams, who I worked with when he was a lieutenant in the Transit Police, when I was chief of the Transit Police back in the 90s, is he is an adherent to my philosophy of crime control, serious crime control through CompStat systems, but also attention to quality of life, the minor crimes that people see every day, that many of them are victimless crimes, so-called, but they destroy neighborhoods, they destroy areas of the city. So he is trying his best at the moment, but different from 1994 and 1990 when I first came here, is back then you had extraordinarily close collaboration between the mayor, the city council, legislature and governor in Albany, the district attorneys. You had a collaboration. My second book, Collaborative Parish, is all about the importance of that to achieve goals. Today, there is no collaboration in the criminal justice system in New York City or New York State. The mayor is effectively on ground that nobody else is on that ground with him. He has a hostile city council that basically does not like the NYPD and literally legislates against it constantly. He has a hostile legislature in Albany that are constantly passing criminal justice reforms that basically protect the defendants and do nothing to protect the victims. He has a governor who's in the middle of a race, who's leaning very far to the left. She's going to have to come to center very much if she gets elected because she's too far to the left. The district attorneys, several of them in New York, front page news today, one of them, Alvin Bragg in Manhattan, who was a disaster. So unlike what I had to work with Mayor Giuliani back in the 90s, there is no collaboration around this issue. The mayor is effectively a voice crying out in the wilderness. Also, he has many fewer police to work with. I had 38,000 cops. He's got about 34,000 for a growing crime problem. He would like to hire more cops, but the city council won't let him. So it's a very different circumstance. Also, while the numbers are much smaller than the 1990s, you have to keep in mind about 60% of the people living in New York today weren't here in the bad old days. So this is the first time in their memory that they have had successive years of crime increase. Even that crime is nowhere near what we experienced back in the 90s. This is their world. The world in 2018 was the safest it's ever been. In less than 4 years, it's flipped upside down.